So the Colourlab first started its development back in 2008 when I was faced with a job that we had to emulate a certain film stock on digital cameras. Actually, the very first job that I had to develop color science, even though I don't think I even called it Colourlab at that time, was a job where the whole movie was shot on a Kodak film stock, and then there was a one scene that was using Phantom high-speed camera, and we had to match the look of Phantom to the rest of the movie, and so my exploration into film stock emulation started. I worked at that time with a company in Germany that used to service film scanners, and that gave me access to an incredible amount of very precisely scanned data using specific devices that were able to read color data directly from the film negative that we were later able to manipulate. These are just some of the movies where, Colourlab was deployed since, that I have graded, and then also these are some of the TV shows that I worked on where I have successfully deployed Colourlab. And here is just a small list of commercials that I graded where I have also used Colourlab extensively. Also, it's worth to mention that Colourlab was used on a series of very successfully and awarded TV commercials and shows, which just adds to the fact that this color science has been proven numerous times over and over. Now, when I was working on the Marco Polo Season 2, it became obvious that the color management is going to become more and more important as we are moving into HDR, and that I'm going to have to change the way how I was working in order to be able to accommodate for the new workflow where we are working with several teams in parallel on sometimes on very remote locations. So in order to make the whole color managed workflow simpler, I decided to develop an application called Colourlab that was a standalone application to begin with the help of BFI. And in parallel, we have launched a training program called Color Managed Workflow for Film and TV that was successfully running since 2016. And we had over 400 people complete that course successfully. And these were the first 400 users of Colourlab, some of them very famous DPs, DITs, visual effects supervisors, people who work for some of the biggest post-production companies in the world. Definitely one of the best training courses that we ever did. What happened is I was developing the software, I realized that actually most people use Colourlab in connection with DaVinci Resolve. So kind of the question came, would it be possible to get the essential mathematics, essential color science of Colourlab and put it inside DaVinci? So we developed Colourlab RGB plugin that you are using right now is basically used for RGB workflows. And then we have also Colourlab ACES for ACES workflows. And then we have a Colourlab HDR when you're working in HDR. So we have kind of separated the functionality of Colourlab into these different plugins that are now also much more affordable and that are also much more practical because they are part of the DaVinci family.